I want to eat these, but I know we got to drink this first. So.
Oh, we're doing that first.
We're gonna drink it first, and then we're gonna drink wings.
I didn't know if we were just gonna have wings afterwards or what.
No, because we got to compare the bourbon to the bourbon glaze. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So, welcome to this episode of Whiskey Noobs. As always, I'm your host, Chris, and today, if you can't hear already, we've got Justin once again.
What's up? I'm back.
I promised you the next episode was going to be a bourbon episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got today the Budget Bourbon March Madness winner, Larceny Small Batch, which I'm very excited to drink on the show. And pretty much everybody who listens to the show, at least most of them, they follow on the other socials, right? So they've already seen me drink Larceny 3 times. So I was like, we got to spice this episode up a little bit. We can't just be drinking Larceny again.
Clear winner, though.
We could get to
was
that.
there some hesitation?
No, yeah, there's hesitation. I almost called it a draw, actually.
Really?
Yeah. But I was like, we gotta spice it up a little bit, so we're gonna compare them to bourbon glazed chicken wings, like bourbon barbecue, whatever, chicken wings.
Did you fill out your bracket before doing it?
Mm-hmm.
You did? It wasn't close?
Oh no, like did I guess?
Yeah.
No. I didn't guess at all. They were all blind tastings. It was just I put out the 8 that we're doing. I seeded it by price, and then that was it. Now, one thing I wanted to mention about this before we get into it, the Larceny, you asked if it was a clear winner. It was not, and it also wasn't the winner that I anticipated. I didn't think it was going to be that good because the first time I had it, I wasn't a huge fan, and it ended up winning. And I think this is something I wanted to bring up because small batch bourbons or small batch whiskey in general doesn't always taste the same bottle to bottle if you get a different batch. So that's my running theory as for why I didn't like it as much the first time, or my palate just changed. I actually did a video about it on TikTok. So I really was impressed this time. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. So I'm excited to see what you think because you're all about bourbons. You know, I gave you a Scotch and then I gave you a single malt Texas whiskey last time before that. So you actually get to drink some bourbon finally.
Yes.
And you get more chicken wings.
Show off my true talent.
Yeah, bourbon.
Alcohol and wings.
There you go. All right. So, as I mentioned, we are comparing a bourbon to bourbon-flavored chicken wings. And then also, you brought some chicken wings as well. What do we have here in your box?
We got a dry rub.
A dry rub.
Mesquite barbecue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I want to try dry rub. It's like, how is that going to differ between the two?
Right, because we've only ever done, we did the whole wings episode. For those of you who don't know, we did a whole episode with wings, like getting hotter and hotter, and we never did a dry rub.
I got a feeling it tastes nothing. It's like, oh, they put seasoning on these?
Oh, when you drink the bourbon?
Yeah.
Probably. That's a good point. So let's get the bourbon poured up here. We're just going to do a review. I'm going to do it a little different from normally. We're going to do the review right off the bat with the tasting notes that they say you should get. Because as I mentioned, I've already drank this 3 times on camera for the March Madness. So we're going to skip right to the notes that they say you should get. All right. If you want to take a whiff, we can give it a quick review.
It's not too potent at all.
Not too potent on the nose?
No. I was
Okay.
expecting more.
Really?
Yeah, because with you having it with your winner, I was thinking this has got to be bold.
Oh, yeah. See, so I don't want to say it's bold like in terms of being high proof or anything like that, but I do love the nose of it. And I think online they really hit the nail on the head with their tasting notes. They said fresh bread and toffee. And I think for sure fresh bread and then definitely sweetness, but like I don't know that I would say toffee specifically, but it gives me bready notes for sure. I think it gets it on the palate as well.
Yeah,
but,
I could see that as well.
Yeah, but we're not quite to the palate yet, but definitely good bready notes, which I really enjoy.
White bread, wheat bread.
Oh, good question. Multigrain. Real grainy. Yeah. So I agree with their nose. It says fresh bread and toffee with a note of butterscotch. Definitely fresh bread and definitely something sweet. Toffee, butterscotch, whatever you want to call it. Almost like bread with like honey on it, and
it's crazy. Like when you say something, you can smell it, but just like at first, I'm like, I smell nothing.
Really?
I'll be honest. I'm like, I smell nothing.
Oh, that happens to me sometimes. I had one. I think it was the Bushmills Black Bush that I was like, oh, there's like a little bit of fruitiness going on. I don't know what it is. And then I read the notes and it said peach.
You're like,
and
holy shit, here it is.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's peach. Yeah. I was like, that's awesome. So let's go for the palate now.
Man, that is good.
Yeah, it's a lot more on the palate, right?
Holy
More than
cow,
you expected.
is that good?
And keep in mind, when you say it's not punchy, I know a lot of the stuff that you've drank is a little bit more expensive. This is $29 for the bottle.
Yeah.
Horse Soldier, which I know you really like, that's $55 for the normal. And I think you said you had small batch or something, which is like $75.
Yeah.
So this is less than half the price of that. Now, the taste, I would argue there's still some bread. But what they put for the palate is buttery caramel and honeyed notes with a rich mouthfeel. I think rich mouthfeel is a great descriptor for this as well. So I mentioned to you, I almost called it a draw. It was between this and Old Granddad Bottled in Bond. And what I said was, if you like a little bit of bite, a little bit of harshness, then you'd probably prefer the Old Granddad because it had a little bit more flavor, but also a little bit more punch. Whereas this, I thought, it says that rich mouthfeel. I thought it had that. It had like a
Absolutely.
nice... Yeah, it feels full in your mouth, and it doesn't bite you back. Really.
Right. No, even after you drink it, it's like smooth, and the taste isn't. You don't have a weird aftertaste or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's consistent.
Oh yeah, because that was something with, was it the Aberlour or the Texas that you were like, it's kind of got an aftertaste.
Yeah, the aftertaste is weird. This one's fine.
Yeah, the finish is good. It doesn't like kind of fade into this weird flavor. It's right there. And I agree with the buttery caramel.
The buttery for sure.
Yeah.
I get that.
And I think that's where it reminds me of bread, because they even say bread on the nose and they say buttery on the palate.
It's like, buttered bread.
Yeah, it's like warm buttery bread. And then caramel and honey notes, those are typical for a bourbon. Those are pretty common. So I agree with them. I don't think there's anything super out of the ordinary here. I don't know. I'm going to take another sip before I say what I think I'm going to say.
I've been sipping a lot. I'm trying to pull something like sure out of it. You know, like 100%. Like when you drink that, it's like, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just has a mild blend of a lot of things. That's why there's not that one thing it pulls out.
Right.
Which that's what makes it just a rich blend altogether.
Agreed. They're not like, it's kind of a bunch of different notes hitting you at once. It's not like, boom, this huge note, kind of like we were with the Scotch, where it's like huge note and then kind of fades into this other stuff.
It's like I can just taste that one. I can't taste them all.
Right. Yeah, I thought maybe there would be a little bit of a fruit to it, but I don't know that I really get any.
I don't taste the fruit because I was looking. I wanted like fruit. No, check that off the list. Cinnamon. No, check that off the list.
Yeah,
it's just that mild, subtle, like buttery, butterscotch kind of taste to it.
Just like bakery sweetness, which I've always said is like my favorite character for a bourbon to have. Not a lot of punching you with cinnamon and cherries, anything like that. But there might be a light, I don't know if I want to say cinnamon, but a light spice to it. But it's like you said, it's a lot of those mild, mellow flavors. But they're there. It's not like boringly mild.
And I think that's why you picked this one out of everyone else. It's like, oh, this one tastes like cinnamon. I know what that one is.
Oh yeah, I did a bad job guessing. I really did in this. I was pretty bad at guessing them. I was very surprised.
Four Roses out first round.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, and I love Four Roses.
Well, it's up against this. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't expect this to do well at all. So I was really impressed. It revealed, I did a TikTok on this, it revealed like a little bit of internal bias, because I was like, I had a bottle of it when I was new to whiskey, and I was like, I don't like this very much. Once again, could have been a bad batch, could have been that my palate changed, who knows. And then I had this bottle, and I tried it again, and I'm like, I can see why people like it so much, but I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
And then I had it in blind tastings, and I picked it.
It's like, what?
Yeah, and so then it's like, oh, must have been some bias left over from not liking it originally, which was pretty cool to see. And I came by it honestly. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's just internal bias probably. All right, now the moment that I know you've been waiting for. Before we get there, the finish is not very descriptive. It says long, gently sweet, and savory. I do like that, though. I like the gently sweet and savory because it's not offensive.
Nope.
It's not like you said. It's not like you're like, oh, what's that taste?
It's not a bold, oh, this is good at first, and then it's like, oh, this is really weird aftertaste.
Exactly.
It's just consistent.
It is. It's just consistently what you've been tasting. All right, so the moment that I know you've been waiting for. Let's try out these bourbon wings. We'll try the bourbon first so we can compare it to the bourbon with a fresh palate here.
I'm excited.
I know, me too.
I feel like it's going to be too sweet. Like, what's your first initial thought?
Okay, good. That's a good point. We should talk about what we think we're going to see. I agree. I think the wing sauce is going to be too sweet, and it's going to make this taste more dry like pairing them together.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that we're really, really going to learn is that bourbon sauces don't taste like bourbon, is what I'm really anticipating.
And the thing is about this one here, it's just so subtle and like that's a bourbon taste.
Right.
You know? You're not tasting like, if I go into this looking for caramel, looking for bread or something, it's going to ruin the whole thing. I'm looking for bourbon. I'm looking for that.
Yeah, just look for just bourbon.
Yeah.
The character of bourbon. All right.
You got to say it like that too.
Bourbon. All right, let's seek it out.
Did you dip it in ranch?
No, I didn't.
I was going to say, you suck.
No.
You are cheating.
No ranch.
I hate it that I'm thinking so much eating a wing.
I am. I'm really analyzing it.
Usually I'm just enjoying my wing. Now I'm over here like, what do I taste?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't look every single finger when you get done eating a wing, are you even eating a wing?
Not a chance. Same with Cheetos. You know, some people would argue that we didn't need to eat chicken wings on here. We could have just tasted the sauce. And to those people, I say, you can't listen to my show anymore.
Screw you.
Leave. All right. I want to hear your thoughts first because you're the bourbon lover.
I know. So, remember that Jack Daniels, like, pineapple sauce your dad always had?
Yes.
That's exactly what I was tasting. And
No
he
kidding.
made that with Jack Daniels, didn't he?
Yes, it has Jack Daniels in it.
So you have to taste a little bit. There is a little bit of bourbon taste to it. I mean, it's a bourbon wing sauce. You're going to taste a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not bold at all. And the thing is, after drinking actual alcohol, you have that like little burn. It's like, I want that. But
Yeah.
I don't taste it when I'm eating a wing.
Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head because that's exactly where I was going to go is when it's called a bourbon wing, it always ends up being this really mellow sweet for some reason.
Yeah.
And I always want it to punch me a little bit. Like
Why? Why do they make it so sweet?
Right. Bourbon punches you a little bit when you drink it.
Yeah, but you're never going to have a spicy bourbon. And I
Right.
think that's exactly why they do it. They're going to sweet over spicy. I mean,
Yeah.
when's the last time you had, Fireball whiskey? You got cinnamon and stuff like that.
True. But like I feel like maybe some black pepper at least. Or like a little bit more saltiness.
Yeah, pepper
Something
for
like
sure.
that, to
Why
punch
don't they
you a
put the pepper on there?
Right. Right.
They should for sure.
But I do agree, it has that base kind of flavor to it. These even do have a little bit of a black pepper. I didn't even mention where we got them from. This is like a local place, so I'm not going to mention. It's not a chain or anything. But they do have a little bit of like a black pepper taste to them. But like you said, the Jack Daniels sauce, they always make them real sweet.
Yep.
And I think that's because bourbons usually have like a caramel type flavor to them. And no punch. No punch at
No,
all. You're
not
kind
at
of
all.
waiting for it and it doesn't hit.
It's like, give me a little spice. Let me sweat on this one a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go back to the bourbon and see how that changes.
Did it just get sweet? I didn't even taste it yet. I just smelled it, but it just smells sweeter.
I was about to say that. Like, the scent got way more of the taste that I got in the wings.
Absolutely. And like when I first had this, I'm like, it's not sweet. I can't really taste any like fruits or anything like that. I'm not tasting fruits, but just the actual sweetness of it now. It's like, oh, that's so much more. It's so much more bold.
Yeah.
Than these wings.
I was away from my mic for a sec, but 100%, when I lifted it up to my nose, I was like, that smells more caramely to me now.
Yeah.
Like that butterscotch note they say you should get, that's got more of it to me. Now, I'm going to try the palate, though, and see. I think the palate is more buttery sweet. The burn is super satisfying because those wings were so sweet that having a little bit of burn is very satisfying right now. But I think it almost doesn't have as much body, but you do get more of that buttery sweetness for sure.
I'm super happy. So maybe bourbon wings are not supposed to taste like bourbon. They're supposed to be paired well with the bourbon.
I was going to say that, dude.
I was like, that's where it is.
Bourbon wings are meant to be eaten with a glass of bourbon.
Exactly. It's not the taste. You're not going to have anything taste like a bottle of bourbon right there.
I mean, I think that's the intent, but I don't think that's what it should be.
Disclaimer over here.
I think they're probably like, well, we made it with bourbon, so it tastes like bourbon, and it doesn't. But maybe because there's bourbon in there, it tastes pretty good with this. This is way better. This is probably better than every pairing we did on the last one, except maybe
so much better than
what was that one? The jalapeno one. That was really good.
Because it was sweet.
Yeah, exactly. It has
it was sweet.
That underlying sweetness that just goes well with whiskey.
Yeah.
That was impressive because I thought the sweetness would kill the sweetness. It didn't. they fed off each other a
They
little
did,
bit.
and I was really surprised. I was like, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to kill the characteristics of everything. No, it made
Not
them
at
pair
all.
well.
And there was no heat, so it didn't build like the hot wings did last time. I was
Oh,
like, oh my gosh.
I love hot wings. I
Me
love
too.
bourbon, but it's like they are not supposed to go together at all.
Mm-mm. You can go ahead and grab some more if you want, because we still got to try these ones. These here dry rubs.
So, mesquite barbecue.
Mesquite barbecue.
They don't look heavy on the seasoning, but
no.
I'm kind of excited because if you taste a little bit of it, then it's gonna be like, oh, hey, there it is. This is what it tastes like.
Yes, it might complement the bourbon a little bit because it's not going to overpower it at all. Now, because it doesn't have any of those similar flavors, like the bourbon wings have the kind of similar undertones to the bourbon, I'm interested to see if it doesn't have any similar flavors, kind of like the ones we did in the last episode, but it's also not spicy like the ones we did on the last episode.
Right.
So I'm interested to see if the two flavors complement each other, the mesquite barbecue with bourbon, or if they don't taste good together. I'm hoping complement.
So what I'm thinking, I think it's gonna be opposite.
Okay.
I think the bourbon's gonna be strong enough that when you take a bite of this wing, it's gonna be like, where the heck's it at?
Oh, okay, okay.
You're thinking the salt's gonna like bring out.
Yeah.
You're gonna taste that saltiness because
That's
there's
my
not
hope.
any salty in the bourbon. Okay, I
That's
can see
my
it.
hope. That's my hope. All right, let's take a sip immediately and then eat
That's
away.
what I was thinking. Yeah.
All right, we probably need to go back to the bourbon before we say our thoughts. We're gonna lose the flavor. I have it. It's locked in. I know. I know what I want to say.
I'm so upset.
Why is that? Talk about it. I want to hear it.
It killed both of them. Did it not for you?
So
the bourbon at first it was like, yeah, tastes good, everything, because it probably still had the sweetness from the other wings.
Yeah.
Eat this wing, it just tastes like cardboard. And
I was
I'm like, there's no flavor. Where is it at? And then I went back to the bourbon, and it still just didn't taste the same from before.
Yeah. So I'm actually kind of impressed. Completely different experience. Completely.
Oh yeah.
So, like from the bourbon wings to the dry rub wings. The dry rub wings, first bite, completely plain unmarinated chicken. It was just like,
okay. Yeah, go on. Continue. I got a thought process on this.
Second bite, salt. I got a little bit of salt now.
Uh-huh.
Third bite, okay, now it's salty. I don't know that it ever really I don't know that it ever really became barbecue-y to me.
No.
I think it was always just salty. Now, what I will say about going back to the bourbon, I think it brought the body back that it lacked, but the sweetness is just not there like it was with the other ones.
No.
Like the sweet butterscotchy, not like that. Brought back the body, though, a little bit with a little bit of the alcohol harshness.
Yes.
Because like the other one, weirdly, it didn't come back harsh. I thought it would because it was
not
so
at all.
sweet,
Yeah.
but it didn't. These ones, it did come back a little bit harsh.
This frustrates me. It's like it shouldn't be like this. It should taste the same no matter what you do or what you eat. It should taste the same. That is not the case.
Yeah, bourbon should be bourbon should be bourbon.
Exactly.
And that just proves because like people are always like, oh, whiskey just tastes like alcohol, and
Yeah.
it's like no, you can even drink one whiskey with two different meals, and it'll taste two different whiskeys.
And that's like when you did your bracket and everything, you cleansed your palate in between. And I'm like,
Yes.
cleanse your palate. That doesn't do anything.
Oh yeah,
And then like for this, it's like, hello,
yep.
this made a difference.
I always do that. I go a little bit extreme when I do my tasting. Somebody actually commented, oh, it shouldn't take this long to do a blind tasting. Here's why it does for me. Because I not only cleanse my palate in between, but I'll go bourbon A, cleanse palate, bourbon B, and then I'll go bourbon B, cleanse palate, bourbon A, because that makes a difference, the order. And then I'll go bourbon A straight to bourbon B, cleanse palate, bourbon B straight to bourbon A, because it makes a difference. It really does. It keeps it from all just kind of running together in your mouth.
Now I'm getting another one of these dry rubs
Okay.
because I've been talking for a while. I drank a little bit of water. I want to know if I can like taste it or if it's just the wing itself.
Good point.
That's just disappointing because I can
It's the
taste.
wine. Oh, you can taste it.
Oh, really? See, I can taste. I don't know if this one had a lot more on.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if they're just seasoned inconsistently.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really?
Yep. Big difference. Like I can taste the mesquite before, not at all.
My second one, opposite. I got like no flavor.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you a dry rub guy or wet sauce?
Wet sauce kind of guy.
Absolutely. I know some people out there, they're like, dry rub is the way to go. You don't get messy. It still tastes good. I'm like, You're insane.
No, the messier it is, the better it tastes. It's a proven fact. Look it up. Science. I just made that up.
I was about to say, what are you reading?
So I think maybe the wings are a little bit inconsistent. So here's what's important. If that one was salty and mesquite to you, now try the whiskey and see if it has more body than it did before.
I think I just ate a bone.
I heard it over here with the headphones on. I think the salt from the wing might help. Try it.
No, just more of that, like, the alcohol burn.
Still nothing. Okay.
And I would hate to get wings and some bourbon, and, like, you're sitting there, it's like, wow, that burns to drink, but I need something to drink.
Yeah, that's true. I agree that it cranks up the alcohol, but I think it at least brings back the body a little bit. But kills the sweetness and stuff.
It does bring back the body of it. It's just hard to pull the notes because I think the alcohol is, like, it just burns a little bit.
It ramps up,
So it, like, cuts that out.
Now, you know what we got to do next? We got to make sure that it wasn't just in the beginning it tasted so good because our palates weren't warmed up yet, which means we got to go back to the bourbon.
We have to.
And we got to decide if that's the case or not.
The look you have on your face, if you guys could see this, he's just so satisfied.
It's consistent. Apparently, sweet complements sweet.
It does. It so much does.
It is the exact opposite of what I would have anticipated.
That is nuts.
It's delicious.
So, the one thing I had to say is, after I got done with the mesquite, I had some water. After I drank that water, I went back to the wings, the bourbon wings.
Yeah.
And I could actually taste the pepper.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, it's here. But I had bourbon before the bourbon wings last time.
Right.
I was like, couldn't taste that pepper at all. So it brought it out a little bit.
I do see what you mean. It's weird. Here's what's weird about that, is that the spiciness of the bourbon kills the spiciness of the wing. But for some weird reason, the sweetness of the wing brings out the sweetness of the bourbon. That's where it just doesn't make any sense to me.
No, not at all.
I will say, if I'm going to, from now on, like if I'm eating wings and I'm going to get a bourbon with it, or any whiskey with it probably, I'm going to go for like a sweeter wing.
I'm going sweet. Sure. No dry rub, no hot.
Every sweet wing that we've done, we did.
Wasn't it jalapeno honey?
It was like, yeah, it was some kind of sweet jalapeno, because jalapeno honey's Quaker. I forget what the B-dubs version is. It was like, yeah, something like that. Jam and jalapeno. And so we did mild, medium, hot, jam and jalapeno. The only good one was the jam and jalapeno. And now we've got bourbon, which is sweet, versus a salty dry rub, and the bourbon's better. It's got to be sweet, apparently.
I think we can close the case on wings.
I do too. I think we've researched.
Wings, yep, they're done.
We've researched thoroughly.
We've been through the flavors. We've been through the bourbon. I don't think there's anything else out there that we need to test.
Nope. Now we just got to try other spicy stuff or something.
Yeah.
Other foods. We're going to branch out.
Yeah.
Bourbon
Absolutely.
burger.
Bourbon burger.
Whiskey burgers. Those are common with like the onion petals on them. It's like,
uh-huh.
I have to try that. No, I agree. I think we can close the book here. The first episode, I was like, I don't know what caused this one to just be good, better than the rest. This episode, now I get it.
It's
the sweetness.
Yep.
It's the sweet just feeds on each other.
Uh-huh.
It helps it be better for sure.
Now, other than, we got burgers, wings. What else is there out there? Bourbon. Cooking with bourbon.
Bourbon flavored? I don't know. Most barbecue, I feel like you could probably loop that in with wings, you know?
What I think is kind of crazy about bourbon, it's like they pair it with so many things. Like cigars and stuff. It's infused in the tobacco. It's like, what makes it taste that good? What note in this bottle is like, I need to put you with food. Right. You're that delicious.
The bourbon note. Like, what is it? Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, nobody is out there like, hey, let's make beer flavored. There's some beer cheese and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll give them that. But a majority of the time, you don't see beer wings.
I was gonna say beer cigars.
Beer
Imagine
cigars.
How gross that would be.
Yeah.
Maybe there
exactly.
is. I don't know. But that's a
so
good
that's
point.
one thing to think about is like bourbon does have the flavor. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Anytime anybody's like, "Oh, whiskey just doesn't. It just tastes like alcohol," it's like, well,
oh, really? Because there's like food out there,
right?
There's cigars out there. There's everything out there that has bourbon in it. It's like there's a reason. It's because it tastes good.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's what it kind of brought me to think about. Is like, It's not tasting it and feeling the burn. It's like there's a reason behind why people drink bourbon. It's not because the alcohol content's high and you can get drunk faster.
Right.
It's because it tastes good.
Exactly. I try to get that across to so many people, and they just don't get it.
It's tough. It really is tough because
It
the
is.
first time you drink it, it's like, oh my God, I just want to die.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
horrible.
Unless you have acquired the taste for it, it's
Yeah.
horrendous. And I get why people think that, but once you do, it's like, oh, this is delicious.
And the thing is, the older you get, the more like you taste things and appreciate things. Like I recently just like started liking mushrooms. When I seen those as a kid, I'd be flinging those across the room. I'm like, I don't even want to taste these.
It's a fungus. That's what I
Yeah,
used to
I'm
think.
shooting these things through a straw. These are disgusting. Now
Yeah.
I'm sucking up through a straw through other people's plates. Like, give me that thing.
Right. Yeah. You definitely, your palate changes a lot as you
Oh
get
my
older.
gosh,
Without a doubt.
And it's great too. It's because like
yeah.
if it were to be the other way, it's like, oh, I liked all these things, and then all of a sudden it's like I hate them all.
Yeah. That's a good point. You expand a lot more than you contract
Yeah.
a lot of the time. Yeah, I think we can safely say that bourbon-flavored wings, the main linking factor, though, is like the sweetness, the honey-ish
Definitely
flavor.
sweetness.
It's not really like anything else. Like, it's not like you said, the bourbon.
Yeah.
It's not that. You know? I don't know. I think... I don't know if anybody really knows what the bourbon taste is.
But now that I like think about bourbon and stuff more, it's like, what do you put in it to give it that more caramel taste?
Oh, I mean, they don't put anything in it. That's what's crazy about it. It comes from the ingredients, the corn, the barrel. That's what's wild about it.
What do you mean? Like, you have to put something. Is it just this amount of concentration of wheat in there that's going to give it more bread taste?
All of that, yeah.
Yeah.
All of that plays into it. So this actually, good point about the wheat. I know you just brought that out of thin air, but actually, this is a wheated bourbon. Good job. You snatched
I
that.
read it on the bottle.
There you go. Wheat tends to have more sweetness. So that'll
Okay.
add more sweetness to it. Rye, if you have like a high rye bourbon, that tends to have more spice and also a little bit more harshness. So some people don't like it as much, but the spice gives it more complexity, more
So
flavor.
like Jack Daniels, that's got to be rye. Or is that just the way it's finished?
Yes, basically. So Jack Daniels is a Tennessee whiskey. So it's a subset of bourbon, and they actually filter it through charcoal, and it does kind of give it a different thing to it. They say it smooths it out. I think it does give it a different character. They say, oh, it doesn't add any flavor. I think it does add a little bit of flavor to it.
You're a nerd. Who was the first person who's like, hey, I'm going to take this and filter it through charcoals?
Apparently, it was a slave or former slave named Uncle Nearest, and now there's an Uncle Nearest whiskey.
Don't you have that?
My dad does.
Your dad does?
Yep. So yeah, it's pretty it's intense for what can cause all of the different flavors, but wheated bourbons tend to taste pretty good. I tend to think that. But see, that's where I'm weird because I like high rye as well. It's all a mood thing for me.
Yeah.
It's like, do I want something sweet or do I want something spicy, you know? High rye is going to have a little bit more spice. Okay, well, to wrap up, since you're the bourbon guy, you love your bourbons, but you drink a lot of higher end bourbons. This here $29 bottle right here. What are we thinking?
So I do like it just because it's consistent flavor.
Okay.
It's just a subtle, easy flavor. But sometimes I do like the bold, I wouldn't say cinnamon. I don't like spices as much.
Okay.
But that really harsh bread
Yeah.
taste, it's like, okay.
Fills your mouth immediately.
Yeah.
Body.
A lot of body.
Yep. I agree, and I think that's honestly why I picked this one, and I said this in the last review, was that it was easier to drink. And when I'm looking for a budget bourbon, if I'm paying less money, I'm like, I just want this to be easy to drink. Because the other one, the Old Granddad, it had more flavor, but it was more harsh, not necessarily in the fun way, not necessarily in like the full body type of way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I want more body, I'll pay a little bit more money, but like and not get that harshness with it. Whereas with this, I'm like, $29. It's not hard to drink. That's kind of the big thing you can look for less than $30.
The price tag on this bottle matches the flavor. I truly think it's because if I want to drink a lot of one thing, I'm not going to go out there and buy a $70 bottle of bourbon.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there and buy a $29, $30 bottle.
Yep,
And
exactly.
this is exactly what it is.
And
it's
gonna
like
be-
I can drink a lot of you, and it's not going to hurt when I go to the grocery store to get some more.
Exactly. Yep, I totally agree. And that's what I like about this bottle so much. And there is a lot of love-hate comments on this bottle. Some people love it, some people hate it. And it makes me wonder if their batches just aren't super consistent because it is small batch. So it makes me wonder if the batches aren't very consistent, because I didn't remember liking it the first time I had it either.
Where are these guys out of?
That's a great question. Larceny is made by the same as Elijah Craig, I believe. Heaven Hill, I want to say. I'll edit this out if it's not. I think it's Heaven Hill, which would also be Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah. Heaven Hill would be Elijah Craig, Heaven Hill, if you've ever heard of Heaven Hill. Old Fitzgerald. There's a couple other ones. But, yeah, I believe that's who makes Larceny.
Imagine growing up in Kentucky and be like, I want to start my own company.
Yeah.
I want to start making bourbon. That would be sweet.
Imagine growing up in, like, Oregon and wanting to, and it's like nobody's going to buy an
nobody's
Oregon
gonna
straight,
do that.
Oregon straight bourbon
Oregon
whiskey.
bourbon.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, I'm pretty impressed by this little $29 bottle. I'm super impressed by the bourbon wings with it. I feel like that's way better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I'm stoked about that. And I know from now on, especially because I like getting whiskey, if I'm getting wings, I'm getting sweet wings to go with the whiskey.
Absolutely.
At least until I'm done drinking the whiskey.
Yeah. This one, I wonder if like you have one that's more not so just rich body and just that bourbon taste. If you had one that had like a more caramel or something,
Okay.
would make a difference. But I think it would pull the caramel out more. I think it'd pull the sweetness out more.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point too, because if you had like a really high rye or just a rye whiskey, it makes you wonder if it'd be good with the wings or if it's like just avoid that while you're eating while you're eating chicken wings, you know?
Yeah.
It almost makes you wonder, because I think you might be right. Like it would just trample over the wings. The wings wouldn't taste good. It would make the whiskey harsher. So maybe like if you can't get a sweet bourbon, just don't get a drink with it.
I wouldn't at all.
Just get a beer.
Yeah, beer it is.
Good old fashioned Bud Light. Maybe some
Right.
Blue Moon. I like Blue Moon.
Blue Moon's good.
I like Blue Moon.
Brings out that orange.
Yeah, get some orange wings, orange chicken.
Oh my.
From like
They're on it.
yeah, Asian food, orange chicken. Boom. All right. Any closing comments on the Larceny compared to your other bourbon experiences?
You know, when you said this was your number one, I was like, this thing's got to be good. This thing's got to be amazing.
Oh no, you're disappointed?
I kind of am.
Oh man.
The flavor was there, but it just
Okay.
wasn't like a
Okay.
wow factor.
Okay.
When I have something, I'm like, oh, I think it was just average.
Well, you gotta keep in mind this was the top for under $30. So
True.
that's you gotta bear that in mind. Now I have a like $70 bottle right there that you can try next. That'll probably be like, oh,
You're like, you jerk, try my expensive stuff.
I'm just saying this is a $29 bottle of whiskey.
I really want to know what you went through to find this one.
We gotta drink them all right now.
Yeah, right now. No, it's good. I think you can drink it consistently. It's not going to give you a bad aftertaste. That's one of the things I really liked about this one.
Yeah.
Didn't give you a weird lingering like, ew, that's a weird taste.
Right.
I think it was consistently good, but it wasn't like knock my socks off.
Well, now I know Justin doesn't drink
Yeah.
anything under $50.
Maybe our taste buds are just a little different.
I won't be bothered if it's less than $50. No, I'm just absolutely. We have different palates because I love scotches and you hate them, so
Yeah.
we totally have different palates. That's without a doubt. All right, man. Well, you finally got a bourbon. Maybe next time I'll give you
Yes.
an expensive bourbon if you're real lucky.
Maybe I'll bring my own.
Since you have such a refined palate.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hopefully this was informative for you if you like wings as much as we do. If nothing else, at least hopefully you got some perspective on Larceny. If you hated it, I recommend you at least try it one more time because I hated it the first time, and I wonder if their batches just aren't super consistent, which wouldn't be a good thing, obviously,
Right.
but you never know. So hopefully you liked it. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know if you tried it with chicken wings alongside it like we did. I don't know if anybody did or not, but that's all that I've got for the episode today. So thanks for listening. As always, learn to drink.
Drink to learn.
Drink to learn. You were ready. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Whiskey Noobs. If you like the show, please make sure that you tell anyone you know who you think would be interested in the hobby or in the podcast. That way we can help to spread the word and continue to grow. Please also make sure to review the show on Apple Podcasts and share our posts on Instagram at whiskey_noobs or on TikTok at Whiskey Noobs Podcast. It only takes a couple of minutes and it really does a lot to help spread the word and grow the podcast. Also, there is an email list for the show. If you'd like to join, you can just send an email to whiskeynoobspodcast@gmail.com and in the subject line put email list. I will add you to the list and then you'll be updated every month with the whiskeys that we will be drinking on the show throughout the month. That way you can drink right along with us and see if you're getting the same notes. Once again, thank you so much for listening to the show. The Whiskey Noobs podcast does not support underage or otherwise irresponsible consumption of alcohol.